Namaste, Julians. My name is Kritika Shanmare, and I'm from the Department of Food, Agriculture, and Veterinary Sciences from the Department of Food and Biotechnology. So, in the last two lectures, we've seen about the food business management, that is, the introduction and the expansion of food business management. So, we were talking about the Green Revolution period in the last lecture. So, today we'll be continuing with the same topic. So, the second phase of agriculture and food policy started in the mid 1960s with the advent of the Green Revolution. So, the adoption of improved crop technologies and seed varieties became a main source of growth during the period. The government of India adopted the approach of importing and distributing the high yielding varieties of wheat and rice for the cultivation in the irrigated areas of the country. So now, this was accompanied by the expansion of extension services and increase in the use of fertilizers, agrochemicals, and irrigation. A number of important institutions were set up during the 1960s and 1970s, including the Agriculture Price Commission, now also called as the Commission of Agriculture Cost and Prices, the Food Corporation of India, the Central Warehousing Corporation, and state agricultural universities. Another major policy decision was the nationalization of major commercial banks to enhance the credit flow to the agricultural sector. Several other financial institutions, for example, the NABARD, that is the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, the Regional Rural Bank, that is the RRBs, were also established to achieve the objective. The cooperative credit societies were also strengthened. This strategy produced quick results with a quantum jump in crop yields, consequently in the food grain production. However, the impact of the green However, the impact of the Green Revolution was also revolutionary. As per the latest agriculture statistics at a glance, world is the largest producer of pulses, milk, fresh fruits and vegetables. Major spices such as fresh meats, selected fibrous crops such as jute, several staples such as millets and castor oil seeds. India is the second largest producer of wheat and rice, groundnut, fruits, vegetables, sugarcane, and cotton. The During the pre-Green Revolution period, the main policy thrust in the first phase was in the enhancing the food production and improving the food security through agrarian reforms. Now, the performance of the agricultural sector has been quite impressive, making the country self-reliant in the food. The evolution of agriculture policies, the agriculture has remained a highly regulated sector in India with the government agencies and parastatals exercising a pervasive influence over it. These regulatory controls are imposed by both central and state governments. The state governments, however, continue to retain the constitutional authority over the sector. After independence, India pursued a policy of food self-sufficiency in staples such as rice and wheat. The policies were initially focused on the expansion of the cultivated area, introduction of land reforms, community development, and restructuring of rural credit institutions. The trade was strictly regulated through quota restrictions and high tariff rates. Now, another major policy decision was nationalize major commercial banks. This strategy produced quick results with a quantum jump in crop yield and consequently in the food grain production. However, the impact of the Green Revolution technology was largely confined to two crops, that is wheat and rice, and then the irrigation disease. The low yielding varieties of rice and wheat were replaced by the high yielding varieties. Today, more than 80% of the area under cereals is sown with high-yielding varieties. The use of fertilizers, that is NPK fertilizers, has risen sharply over the past 3 decades. In the year 2017-18, the Indian farmers used almost 144.3 to 4 kg of fertilizers per hectare of cultivated land. The use of pesticides, including herbicides, increased until 1990 but has fallen steadily. But partly due to the shift in emphasis away from the heavy use of chemical pesticides and to more environment-friendly integrated pest management systems. The biggest achievement of the Green Revolution was the attainment of self-sufficiency in food grains. The Green Revolution also had an impact on the agricultural input industry, resulting in a rapid growth in fertilizers, seed, and farm machinery industries. A significant increase in the funding of agricultural research and extension, marketing of agricultural commodities, and provisions of credit to the farmers was also noted. Now, talking about the post-Green Revolution period, the third phase in agricultural policy development started in the early 1980s and was characterized by the expansion of Green Revolution technology to the other crops and regions. This resulted in the rapid growth in agricultural output. During this period, the main policies aimed at encouraging investment in the sector. Moreover, the agricultural economy started experiencing the process of diversification towards the vegetables and fruits, and in higher value commodities such as milk, poultry, fish, etc. The growth in output of these commodities accelerated. Finally, the ongoing research on pulses, oilseeds, and coarse grains started showing a positive impact to the expansion of these crops into the drier areas. Now, talking about the different, this was all about the pre-green revolution period, the green revolution period, and the post-green revolution period. Now, talking about the economic reforms period, from the time onwards, different rules and different schemes were drawn by the government. Now, following several decades of sustainable output growth, the focus of agricultural policy since 1991 has shifted to improving the functioning of the markets, reducing excessive legislation, and liberalization agricultural trade. The economic reforms launched in 1990s virtually bypassed the agricultural initially. However, the subsequent trade policy reforms have been aimed at liberalizing the export and import of the agriculture and food commodities by gradually removing various restrictions and controls on agricultural trade. Over the past 10 to 15 years, India's share in world agricultural trade has been gradually increased. India has taken an active role in promoting the regional economic cooperation and trade in South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, that is SAARC Summit. In April 1993, a regional trading bloc was formed with the signing of the SAARC Preferential Trading Agreement, which was improvised in 2004. That is the South Asian Free Trade Area, that is SAFTA. That supersedes the agreement on the SAARC Preferential Agreements. Now, however, there were several policy challenges facing the agricultural sector, including the need to reverse the sharp decline in the output growth, which occurred in the late 1990s, and the need to ensure more sustainable use of the existing natural resources. A steady fall in the public sector investment in agriculture posed a big challenge which necessitated policy initiatives to attract private investments in agriculture for a long-term growth and competitiveness of the sector. Another important challenge during this phase was improving competitiveness along the agro-food achieve, especially through enhancing efficiency in production, marketing, and processing of the agricultural commodities. In 2000, the Government of India for the first time published a comprehensive agriculture policy statement, that is, National Agriculture Policy, that sets out clear objectives and measures for all the important subsectors of the agriculture. Over the next 2 decades, this policy aims to attain an agriculture growth rate in excess of 4% per annum. The main elements of the policy includes efficient use of natural resources while conserving soil, water, and biodiversity, growth with equity, that is, growth which is widespread across regions and farmers, growth that is demand driven and caters to the domestic markets and maximizes benefits from exports of agriculture produce in the face of challenges arising from economic um, liberalization and globalization. The growth that is sustainable technologically, uh, environmentally, and economically. The policy also seeks to utilize large areas of wasteland from agriculture and afforestation. Moreover, the National Agriculture Policy, that is NAP, calls for special effort to raise crop productivity to meet the growing domestic demand for the food and agricultural products. The major focus is on horticulture, floriculture, roots, tubers, plantation crops, aromatic and medicinal plants, and beekeeping. Higher emphasis is also placed on raising the production of animals and fish products. While the overall investment in agriculture remains low, that is 1% of the GDP, the reforms in domestic regulations could improve the incentive structure for increase in the private sector. The investments in the agro-food sector and thus enhancing productivity growth. The new policy also proposes to channel resources from agriculture input and price support measures to capital investment in the sector. The NAP also mentions private sector participation through contract farming, assured markets for crops, especially for oilseeds, cotton, and horticulture crops, increased flow of institutional credit and strengthening and revamping of the cooperative credit system and agriculture insurance as the other important issues deserving policy attention. The NAP is a very comprehensive statement covering almost all dimensions of the Indian agriculture. Land reforms launched during the 1950s and revised in 1970s also find place in this document. The NAP is very comprehensive statement covering all the dimensions of the Indian agriculture. The Indian agriculture, the policy, the NAP policy states that the Indian agriculture is characterized by predominance of small and marginal farmers. The institutional reforms will be so pursued as to channelize the energies for achieving greater productivity and production. The approach to rural development and land reforms will focus on the following areas. Now let's see these areas, that is the consolidation of holding all over the country on the pattern of northwestern states, redistribution of ceiling surplus land and waste lands among the landless farmers, unemployed youth with initial startup capital. Tenancy reforms to recognize the right of the tenants and share crops, development of lease market for increasing the size of holding and making legal provisions for giving private land for lease for cultivation and agribusiness, the updation and improvement of land records, that is computerization and issue of land passbooks to the farmers, and the recognition of the women's rights in the land. Now, what are the current agricultural policies and the food business policies? The process of formulating and implementing agriculture policies in India is very complex. involving a number of ministries, departments, and institutions at both the center and the state level. The Union Ministry of Agriculture, under the guidance of the Planning Commission, provides a broad guideline for the agriculture policy. However, the implementation of the administration of agriculture policies remain the same. The allocation of funds to agriculture is guided by the Planning Commission and is routed primarily through the Ministry of Agriculture to various different departments. Okay, the land agriculture, talking about the land reforms, the Indian agriculture is dominated by a large number of small scale operators that are predominantly owners of the small operators, right? The land reforms now need to address three important issues, that is, to map the land carefully and assign conclusive titles, to facilitate land leasing, and to create a fair but speedy process of land acquisition for public purposes. That's all for this session. Thank you. We'll be continuing in the next session.